I know most of you have already come across this beautiful artwork called Mandala. So I think there is no need of an introduction here. We can directly dive into the video. Unlike my other videos, what I am gonna discuss here is each and every step that is required to create a mandala from scratch. So I would love to divide this process into various steps. First step is of course the grid making. In this step, we are deciding the size of our mandala. According to the size and the patterns, we decide how many circles and grid lines are to be drawn. The grid is nothing but a collection of concentric circles and lines which helps to achieve symmetry to our mandala. Here I am using a 20 centimeter square sketchbook with cartridge paper. Cartridge papers are mostly using for dry media techniques, so this kind of papers are very smooth in nature. So let's start the process. According to me, the grid making is the most important process in the mandala. It can be called as the base of our mandala. As you have already seen, this mandala is a center page mandala. So we need to find out the center of the page. We can draw two diagonals here. The intersection point of these diagonals will be our center. After finding the exact center, we need to mark the angles. I am using a pro circle to make angular divisions. You can also use a protractor here. Make light marking at every 10 degrees and using a ruler and a pencil, join the opposite points through the center. Always make sure that these angles should be accurate because these angles and lines are gonna give proper shape to our patterns. Any changes or mismatches in the angles will affect the symmetry of our mandala. That means if the angles are not equal, the patterns won't look uniform. That will ruin the whole look of our mandala. For drawing concentric circles, I am making some dots in any one of the grid lines. These dots are of 1 centimeter in distance. Then I'm drawing the circles using a compass. According to the size of the mandala, these circles can be of any number. For bigger mandala, you can draw more circles and we can fill it with other patterns. Here I am drawing 8 circles. The center circle is of 2 centimeter diameter. So our grid is almost complete now. We can go for the patterns. These are the sections of our grid. Using these dots and lines, we are making our patterns here. We can start with a simple pattern. Our first layer is nothing but one arc petal on each grid section. We already have a base here so that I can easily complete this layer. This is one of the commonly used pattern in every mandalas. For the next layer, we can draw pointed petals on 2 grid sections. For making the process easier, I am marking 3 dots like this and joining this with curved lines. Let's complete this layer with this pattern. For the next layer also, we are going to use the same petal pattern on each 2 grid section. For these petals, I am using the tip of the lower layer petal as the base points. Always try to mark the points. This will make your drawings easier. For the next layer, I have drawn 2 lines inside. We can add patterns here later. For the next layer, draw the same pointed petal pattern for each grid section as we have explained earlier. And for the next layer, we are gonna use the same petal pattern, but we start the petals not from the tip of the lower layer petals. In simple words, we can make 2 dots on both sides of the tip of the lower layer petal. These dots are approximately 2 mm from the tip. We can use this dot as the base points for the 6th row of petals. And for the 7th row, use the same technique. And all these patterns are very simple and common in all mandalas. Anyone can easily follow this. And I am trying to show each steps clearly. After completing the last layer, we will get a small gap between these petals. I am using the same petal pattern here. I'm just drawing one simple and small pointed petal here. And this is how our mandala will look after completing all the outlines. Now we need to choose the filling designs. Sometimes it is the most difficult step for me, but every time after completing each mandalas, those symbol patterns that I have chose to fill the outlines will never fail to amaze me. And that's the magic of mandala. Okay, we need to add one more line inside every petal to create a negative space between layers. It will help us to differentiate each layer and also gives a decent finish to our mandala. Now let's start with this layer. The grid lines are dividing the petal into two halves. On right side, I have drawn one paisley petal down and a small circle to fill the top area. Left side, I am adding vertical lines only. And that's enough. For the next layer also, grid lines are clearly dividing the petals. We can make use of these lines to create our patterns more uniform. If we strictly follow the grid, the mandala will be more beautiful and symmetrical. I have tried two patterns here, but I go with the second one. We need to fill all these layers with these patterns. Here we can add one leaf pattern. The grid lines are already dividing the leaf into two halves. I am adding slanting lines on both sides in opposite direction. I am drawing the lines with minimum distance. And for the next layer, I am adding two more triangles inside. Filling the inner triangle with black color. For the outer layer, I am adding vertical lines. And for this layer, I am using a pattern like this. This kind of pattern is called basket weave leaves. I am giving all my patterns minimal here so that you can easily recreate it. For the last layer, we can use this grid lines to make another petal inside. Then fill it with black color. And for the outer portion, I am adding one more line inside. And I'm gonna fill it with small adjacent circles. So these are the patterns we are using in this mandala. You can draw all these patterns directly with pens. I am using pencil first to get more perfection. So these are the pens that I'm gonna use in this. And these are the markers of Cello and Camelin. These are permanent markers. The technical pen is Sakura Pigma Micron pen with a size 03. I am using markers for outline the every designs. The markers will give you a thick line compared to the technical pens, so these thick lines will be more evident from all the other lines, and it will differentiate each layers of our mandala. And I will use the technical pens to fill all the designs inside. So we can draw all the circles and outlines using markers. I am drawing a thick black ring at the center, following with the thin lines inside and outside. The center portion, we can left this portion blank. And for this layer, I am adding a rounded white petals and gonna fill it with a mesh pattern. For the first layer, we can use a pattern like this. I have completed the outlines of every layer. For the first layer, I am adding one more petal inside, following with a line and dot pattern. Now I am redrawing all my patterns with the technical pens. It's just simple as that. I have already uploaded the full video in my channel, so please check this out. Now we can give a 3D look to this mandala. For that, we can make use of a charcoal pencil here. We need to add shades to each layer of this mandala to create that 3D look. So I'm just shading the edge of each layer with a pencil first, then using a cotton bud to blend it smooth. Repeat the steps to each layers to create a nice shadow look. So this is the final outcome. We just converted a plain mandala into a beautiful 3D artwork using some shading techniques. I love to add shades and colors to my mandalas because it will drastically change the look of our mandalas at the end. So this is the video of the day. Hope you all like it. If you have any suggestions, please do comment me so that I can improve myself. So that's it. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Bye bye.